Thanks for tuning in, guys. This episode is brought to you by Old Man Copper, Smoke Eater, Mustache Wax. Literally smells like a freaking house fire. Keeps you thinking about jobs all day long. Use discount code COPPER, COPPER, 10% off. Good dude. Check him out. Instagram, Facebook, website, oldmancopper.com. Thank you. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I have the privilege to sit down with Cody Hill. He's 30 years old. He's married. And he's got 2 kids. He was born and raised in a small town in Illinois, but moved to Memphis, Tennessee in 2020 to accept a full-time job with Memphis Fire. He's got 11 years in the American Fire Service total right now. 5 of those are back home working as a volunteer and part-time firefighter. And now he has 6 years with Memphis Fire. I'm telling you, these boys burn. He's also the owner of Engine House Designs, LLC. They do everything from custom apparel, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, jackets, along with selling their own products. Now they can also make flags and custom decals. So hit these guys up. We'll talk about that in a little minute. But first of all, my brother, Cody Hill, thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything I missed or mispronounced or anything you want to add for your bio, my brother?
No, man, you nailed it. Thanks for having me on here.
No, absolutely, dude. So before we get into the business side, right, which is what we want to talk about, well, you and I, we met in Memphis. You were actually one of the vendors there. I bought a t-shirt because they're fucking badass. The only thing I hate about it is it says Engine House and not Truck House, but that's okay, right? So if you ever want to do a Truck House, like, subcategory, I'm in, right? You can name it after me, whatever the case might be. I'll take 1% royalties. But all kidding aside, dude, you work for Memphis Fire. I'll tell you what, there's a couple guys out there. I had Cody Miller on there and Bo Slarv. There's a couple guys that have hit me up. You guys freaking burn. So before we get into the business, let's start talking about you getting into Memphis. So why'd you pick Memphis? How'd you get on there? And just kind of tell the audience where your fire service career started, at least with Memphis.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I worked back home for about 5 years, and I was in that point where I was working part-time and I was working, more days of the week than I should have been trying to make ends meet for my family because I actually quit. I was a machinist. I quit
Okay.
my full-time machinist job to become a part-time fireman because I decided that's what I want to do with my life. So,
I'm sure your wife loved that idea.
well, it was a trade-off of like, I'm willing to work as much as I have to make this work, right? So, because I'm the man, I'm the provider, I'm gonna make it work. So I was working too many hours, and how I found Memphis is actually not a cool story at all. We we were on our honeymoon, and we were in this page. It's like training opportunities, job opportunities, stuff like that. And to tell you how much she didn't like me being part time, she was in the group too, trying to find me full time jobs. Um, but we're sitting there on our honeymoon and she's like, "Hey, Memphis is hiring lateral firemen." And I'm like, "What is a lateral fireman?" Because I don't think anybody in Illinois does that. So read the hiring post, figured out that they'll pay you a different pay scale, basically the topped out pay scale right away for your experience. You go through an abbreviated academy, blah, 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 right? And they are actually coming to a suburb of Chicago to do the hiring recruiting process. So I filled out the application. I got my interview date. I went and interviewed, and the guy, I'm in the elevator going up to my room to interview because they did this in a hotel, and different chiefs were in different hotel rooms interviewing folks. And so the guy was taking me up there, and he's like, "Are you nervous?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm trying to get a job, And he's like, "Man, you got nothing to be nervous about. You got the job." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And about 3 months later, they called me and offered me the job. So really, it was just off a whim, off some luck that my wife found the post. That's how I ended up
That's
there.
it's crazy. And it's funny because we talk on the show all the time about how'd you get into the American Fire Service. And I feel like, well, no, I don't feel like it. It's showing it. It is literally split 50-50. It's either like my good buddy Kevin Weiss, right? Work with him. You met him. He's a great guy. He came out the womb with a Halligan in his hand. And I always mention that all the time. And then the other half of us, which I'm included with it, kind of stumbled upon it by accident. I hate even saying by accident because it's still hard to get this job. It's hard to be able to get accepted and everything else, get through the academy, the whole nine. But it's like an afterthought. So I always go back to myself. It's like when I got out of the military, I went back to 5-year-old Steve. It's like, what did I want to do? Air Force pilot? Fuck that up because I joined the Coast Guard, right? Cop, fireman. I applied for both. The only reason the only reason I took the fire department is because the academy started 6 months prior to the police academy. If not, I would have been a freaking cop, which is crazy. It's one of those things where like, and I'm pretty sure you're in the same boat as I am. I didn't know I was meant to be a fireman until I became one. I mean, is that kind of how you feel too?
So I actually grew up watching Backdraft and Ladder 49 and all that. Like, I always wanted to be a fireman. And then when I got into high school, it was like, okay, you got to get a real job,
Yeah.
like being a fireman was like some kind of fantasy or something. And
Yeah.
then I joined the volunteer department in my hometown. I grew up in a town like 1,200 people. So
Jesus, small, super
yeah,
small.
yeah, Memphis was a culture shock to me, but I kind of lost that, that dream because we don't have full-time firemen where I'm from. Not like the town that I grew up in, but and then once I figured out that if I got my EMT license and went through some schooling that I could actually get hired on somewhere. So,
It's crazy too because the guys that don't know, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I should be an honorary Memphis fireman at this point because like the guys that I've met lately have all been Memphis firemen. I fucking love them. And I literally was joking with one of your brothers, Cody Miller, saying, man, if they took lateral freaking captains or even lieutenants at this point, I'd be
yeah.
I'd be gone. I'd be over with you guys in a heartbeat because you all freaking burn. So let's talk about coming from that small town volunteer slash on-call part-time fireman stuff to, and for the guys that don't know, and correct me if things have changed since last time we've talked, Cody, the National Guard was in your freaking city because it's pretty much the murder capital of the world. And every time you turn around, if you're active on social media, there's a freaking video of Memphis Fire burning, and you guys are super, super fucking aggressive, which I love with a passion. It's like everything encompassed in the perfect fire department is you guys. So, what kind of culture shock was that for you coming from literally a town of 1,200 dudes where I don't know what your call volume was, but I guarantee it was a lot less than what you guys do now? So what kind of
Yeah.
shock was that for you guys or for you?
So as far as comparing town to city,
Yeah.
like I said, 1,200 people, and then where we originally moved to was a apartment complex of townhomes. And when I figured out that there's more people in that single complex than my entire town, I was like, oh man, what have I got myself into here? Um, but as far as department to department, where I started volunteering, where I grew up, they average like, a call a day, sometimes 3 or 4 calls a day on a busy day. And where I'm stationed now, which is one of the top 2 engine companies in the city every year, we we are averaging, over 3,000 calls, um,
A year.
on a steady basis. And we're in the year 2023, I think we made no less than 20 runs a day between the ambulance and the engine. So big difference for sure.
That's crazy. For the guys that don't know Memphis, you guys have fire medics? So your ambos are run by firemen. And I know a little bit, right? But please tell the audience, what's a requirement like? Do you have to become a medic? Are you a medic? How does that kind of work? Do you guys run your own ambos? Do you guys switch between the ambo and the engine, the truck? How's that kind of work in your system?
Yeah, so I'm a firefighter paramedic. I have all my job obligations fulfilled now at this point. So the way it works is we'll hire you with nothing. We'll put you through all of the schooling as you progress through your career, but you have a contractual obligation to at least become fire 1 and 2, and then you have to become at least a hazmat ops, and then you have to be a paramedic. And again, we provide all that schooling. So but the way that this works, the one that is the big obligation is your EMS licensure. So, you know, you get called by the EMS Academy, say, hey, we're ready to offer you the EMT basic course. Are you willing to accept or decline? Your deadline is here. And then you can say yes or no. But that deadline is still the deadline. And then they do that for advanced EMT and paramedic as well. So you get 3 different deadlines to meet. Like I said, you can either go through the academy, they'll pay you have to pay for your book, but other than that, it's free. And with that, you just have that deadline to meet, whether you go through them or not. So, and then the way that that translates into the field, most of our ambulances are fire medics, so dual role paramedics, but we do have a handful that are single roles and they are paramedic only, and they follow a 12-hour shift, and I think it's like the Pittman schedule or whatever.
So with those guys are not firemen. They're just paramedics. Is that how that works?
Correct. Yeah, and that's only a handful of the ambulances.
Okay, I got you. So basically, the majority or ambos are fire dudes. So I'm just curious, when you guys arrive on a box or whatever you call it, working fire, do those ambo guys, do they get attached to an engine or ladder to go to work, or are they strictly just for treatment?
No, they're EMS only.
Okay, I got you. And then how does that work? Do you do like a couple years on the box and then you're on the truck, or do you guys rotate? How's that work in your system?
So the way that it's supposed to work, I mean, it kind of depends on your battalion and your station. Your first 90 days on the job, you're not to ride an ambulance. You're not to be detailed. You're strictly in your engine house with your officer, learning your crew, learning your territory, starting on getting qualified on your piece of equipment. Now, sometimes, like I work in a single engine house, so we're the only fire apparatus in that station. And then we have an ambulance as well. So if we get a new guy, he's either not going to be given to us for 90 days, which I feel strongly against, because you shouldn't be sent out to somebody else for your first 90 days on the job. You're going to have to start riding the ambulance right away. But at this time, there's no way of getting off the ambulance without getting promoted to driver or lieutenant, which is, in my opinion, that's one of our biggest culture flaws, is that there's no way for burned out personnel to get off unless they promote, and then you're creating drivers that don't want to be drivers and lieutenants that don't want to be lieutenants. So
And I'll tell you what, I started my fire service career in the Baltimore region area, and I spent 11 years there. Like I said, I have 9 now in the area that I'm at. But it's funny because where I work now, we have private ambulances, which is the best thing fucking ever, right? And the guys that were like, oh, we need to go to our ambos, I tell them all the time, shut the fuck up, right?
yeah,
Like, guess who has to ride those motherfuckers? We do. But with all that said, I came from a system like yours where their firemen are stuck on the freaking box and they hate life for the most part because they run their balls off. And we all know we're all firemen, right? 90% of our EMS calls are freaking bullshit anyway. The good ones are actually worth it, but our system, and I'm curious, like the system I came from, I'm curious if it's like what you run now. It actually created a lot of internal issues between us because it was like, hey, we have a double house plus an ambo, right? So the engine guys hate the truck guys hate the engine guys, but that's all in good jest because the truckies think they're the best, the engine guys think they're the best, blah, blah, blah. I'm a truckie, so I'm always going to go on that side. And the ambo guys hate all of us because they want to be on either the engine or the truck. But here is the issue that we ran into back east. So if you got chosen for paramedic school, which we all signed a contract saying that if we got chosen, we would have to go and we have to pass. If not, our job is done. We're terminated. But what happened is like the really unlucky guys got out of the academy, got through probation, and then got picked and had to go to paramedic school. They got stuck on the box, but guess what? They hate the box, so they study really fucking hard. And lieutenant's exam comes around, they do really well because they studied their ass off, and now they're in the right front seat and they have no idea what they're doing because, and no fault of the guy, it's the system that's fucked up because there's no chance to swing back and forth. I don't know. I've been away from that system for almost 10 years, so I hope they have fixed it, but that was a big culture issue, kind of like you were saying, that I felt that we were failing tremendously on, because all of a sudden we got like, hey, we're burning all these houses down. What happened? It's like, well, we promoted a bunch of guys off the AMBO that just, and no shade on those guys, they haven't been on an engine since probation. That was 10 years ago. And now they're lieutenant and they have no fucking idea what they're doing. And I tell guys in this area all the time, like we do not want our own AMBOs. It's better for a privatized system. And in my perfect world, it's like, hey, let's hire outside guys to run the AMBOs. They can run within our house. And then, hey, that's a good farm league. So if the guys are hard chargers and stuff, be like, hey, bro, when we test, you should test for fire. And then other guys that have no desire to do fire, they just love the EMS side. I mean, good for them. That's not me. Stay in the freaking box. That's okay with you. So, I mean, I don't know if your system's kind of similar to what I came from, but it kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, pretty much. And they've talked about, because our next biggest city would be like Nashville, and they're talking about Nashville. You ride the AMBO for 5 years or whatever, and then you can cross over to the fireside and you never look at it again. And so there's always rumors in the rumor mill of like what they're going to do to fix the problems and whatever. But that was one of the things that they had talked about, was maybe doing something like that, maybe trying to have the single role system completely take over the ambulances, so that it would only be paramedics, single role paramedics on our ambulances. But I'll believe all that when I see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in our region right now, so we got our big brother, we always call him Big Red. So we got Phoenix Fire, literally right across the border from us. So they do something similar to what you're talking about that they're thinking about doing, and it works for them. So I'm not sure, how big are you guys, by the way? About how many stations, how many members ish? Do you know?
The biggest number is 59, but there's some that are closed. I think we have about 55 that are open, with about 1,800 active firefighters.
Okay. So you're about the size of Phoenix Fire. So what they do is you graduate the academy, you go through probation, that's a year. And then after that, you put in for the AMBOs because everyone has to. And from there on out, you do 2 years on the AMBO, however that equates. It has to be like 2 years worth of shifts, whatever that is. I can't remember. I think it's like 200 shifts you do. Once you hit that number, that's it. Unless you pick up overtime, you're done with the AMBO. But that way, everyone goes through it. And those guys are fighting to get on the AMBO because they want to get it done with. So
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, but that works because you got a hard charger like, hey, I'm gonna get my AMBO time out of the way. Now I can be back on the wagon or back on the truck and then working on the suppression side and then thinking about promoting from there on out. But again, it sucks. It's funny because I tell the guys here all the time, I'm like, you want to decrease morale? Put firemen on AMBOs. And that's a guarantee. Like New York City doesn't have firemen on AMBOs for a reason. It's
Right.
a completely separate department for a reason, because it is like, I get it. Our jobs kind of coincide, but it's two separate passions for sure. I know all of us as real firemen, we love the good EMS calls, the shootings, the stabbings, the traumas, everything else. Those are legit. But again, you and I and all the listeners know that's the 10% of the calls. The other is, my toe hurt for 2 weeks. It's 2 a.m. I'm going to call you guys because it still hurts, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, so good deal. So, dude, Memphis Fire, you guys freaking burn like crazy right now. You guys have freaking guys shooting off AKs freaking all over the city. What is that experience like for a guy with you that has less than 10 years on the job? Is that a boner every single time? Or is that like, a, oh shit, like I hope I come home tomorrow morning for you? Just your personal opinion, brother.
Definitely when I first arrived, I don't think there was a pair of pants that stood a chance, but being everybody will say it when you work for Memphis, especially in the hard up communities like where I'm at, you get experience fast. You get seasoned kind of fast because you're just thrown into it. Like I said, 20 runs a day is quite a bit, and during that time, we were also making like a shooting a day or some sort of violent crime, traumatic crime, every single day. And then on top of that, I think we went just on C shift alone, we went probably 3 or 4 months where we were making at least one fire every couple days. So it definitely wears off the new, but it's not less exciting, if that makes sense. Like if you had a Ferrari, the year after you bought the Ferrari, you wouldn't be as excited about it, but you still would love it and you still like to talk about it, if that makes sense.
No, it does for sure.
And like for me, like I couldn't work anywhere else. I don't want to there's places I could go in this fire department. It's big enough where if I didn't want to be as busy or if I didn't want to deal with the stuff that I deal with at my station, then I could go somewhere else. But I guess I still love it. So
No,
the chaos.
no, and that it just honestly, dude, Cody, it means that you're a real fucking fireman because we all do the same thing. We have multiple engines in the area that I work in right now that run the same call volume you guys run, and it
Yeah.
is, and we burn, we have shootings, we have stabbings, the whole nine, and it's great, and it's funny because guys will bid those stations and they kick you in the balls. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about like one of our stations, they will consistently run 18 to 22 calls in 24 hours every day.
Yeah.
But the young guys fucking bid it. And I love it because
Yeah.
like and it's funny because we're surrounded by a couple different cities and departments that don't run what we run outside of Phoenix, because we're on the southern side, which is a busy area. And it's funny, we always say like 2 years in our department is like equivalent to 20 years in the neighboring department. And it is a truth because the call volume. So you get exposed to all these different types of calls. And I wholeheartedly believe it makes you a better fireman. And it's funny because I'll go back to lieutenant and God rest his soul, he's passed away. My first lieutenant on the job back east in the Baltimore region, he used to say all the time, the department I worked for was large, just like yours. And it's funny because I was in the northern section, 1st Battalion, and we ran. So the 4th Battalion was slower. And it's funny because he would he would mess with the other lieutenants and captains, be like, bro, you're not in the same fire department I am. And and I didn't get it when I was young, but he's 100% right. It's the same name on the back of the t-shirt, but it is a completely different department. Kind of like what you're saying, like, hey man, if I didn't want to run all the crap, I could absolutely, go somewhere else that's a little bit slower, but I don't want to because this is what I signed up for. So anyway, so again, you guys are freaking awesome. I love Memphis Fire through and through. Like literally, I want to hang out with you guys as much as I can. Let's get down to your business. So you came up with the engine company design, excuse me, you can correct the official name, but you have fucking amazing swag. Where did that where did that brainchild come from? It was just like one day at the house, you're like, hey, bro, I'll make up a t-shirt, or hey, I'll do a decal, or like, where did that even start for you guys?
So in way back in high school, I messed around with like Photoshop. Actually, I was using GIMP, which was like a knockoff Photoshop free version because I'm in high
Oh, it's
school.
cheaper. Yeah, it's cheaper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was
I
gonna
grew
say
up
it
in a
was a cheaper
trailer,
version.
so
There you go. All right, good. You're one of the brothers. Good.
and I actually designed some t-shirts back then and sold them, but again, you grow up and got to get a real job, so lost track of all that artsy stuff. And when I was originally assigned to engine 18, or when I got to engine 18, my lieutenant was like, hey, you know anybody that designs patches? I've been thinking about updating our station patch. And I had already
Oh
kind of
yeah.
picked it up a little bit then. So him and I sat down, we worked on a patch, came up with it. It's one of my favorite ones I've ever done. And it was the first one I ever did. And it's the University of Memphis, because they're in the university, they have the tiger stripe pumper. And so the patch is actually like the blue and gray tiger stripes, which was, yeah, it was pretty cool to me. But after that, some of the other stations around us started like recognizing it and asking if I could do stuff for them. And it kind of branched out from there. And then people kept asking every time I'd finish their design, like, "Hey, man, do you make the patches too? Like, physically make them?" And I'm like, "No." And I told my wife, I said, "I think I'm missing out on money, like a whole side of this business." So I bought an embroidery machine, and I found out that it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to make one single patch. And I was like, so maybe this isn't such a good investment.
Yeah, it sounds
That's what,
horrible.
yeah. So that's when I started started messing around with hats and jackets and stuff because I definitely need to get my money out of that machine since I was paying for it. And from there, it kind of took off mostly on hats. And then every winter, we started getting more interest in jackets. Then I got an account where I could get Carhartt stuff. And that's become our number one product is Carhartt quarter zips. So that's kind of how we got it started. The reason I named it Engine House Designs is because I was literally doing these designs in the engine house. So, I mean, that's again, it's nothing special, but that's how I came up with the name. So,
So let me ask you. So, are you an engine guy or are you a truck guy?
man, I really thought I wanted to be a truck guy, but there's just something about grabbing that nozzle and slaying the dragon, dude.
All right. So wait. I just let me back up for a second. So I'm just curious, right? So Cody to Steve, why'd you initially want to be a truck dude? And then how'd you transition to well, I already know the answer because you're on the freaking knob, right? Which is one of the best jobs in the fire service. One of them, not all of them. So what was the initial draw to the truck? I'm just curious because you're talking to a truckie right now.
So in my battalion, we have Truck 7, and Truck 7 and Truck 8 are the two busiest trucks in the city. They're the most firefighting trucks in the city. And so when I would get detailed to Station 22 for an ambulance ride or whatever, so backtrack, I was living the dream at the 18s. It was a single engine house with no ambulance. So I was literally on the fire truck all the time. Um, but I would get detailed for my ambulance rides. And that's where Truck 7 was. Those guys kind of took me under their wing, taught me a lot. They got me qualified on the truck so I could drive truck out of rank. And I just fell in love with the work, doing between outside duties, inside duties, and just like I said, their whole culture as like a family kind of drew me into that. But then I transferred to Engine 16 and we're laying pre-connects all the time. So
Well, and again, it's funny because I started my career it's crazy because it's funny how numbers align. So I started my career off probation at Engine 18, which is Marley Park
yeah.
in the area that I worked in, is the busiest single engine house in the entire system. And it was just because where we were located, we were in the first battalion, so we hit all the first battalion boxes, which is the busiest battalion. But because of our location, we hit all the second battalion boxes on like a first alarm or something like that. And it was funny because I was spoiled. I had a lieutenant, Donald Pumphrey, God rest his soul. He's literally my idol in the American Fire Service, basically my father in the American Fire Service. We would arrive. I don't even care what number engine or unit on scene, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever fucking alarm, they would actually get on the radio and be like, Donald, come to the freaking command post. And we were literally like, all right. And I'm just riding his fucking coattails. And they'd be like, I don't know what the fuck those guys are doing. Go in there and put the fucking fire out, And it was just like riding the guy with 35 years on the fucking job at the busiest single engine company in the entire department. And he was there by choice. So he's just like, this is amazing. And then I decided to go special ops, hazmat, technical rescue, the whole nine. And then I got assigned to Station 23, which had a quint and or a squad at the time, it was called, and then fell in love with all the specialties in the truck work. But it's funny because kind of the same deal. Like I was actually an engine guy for a while and then transitioned to a truck dude, but it's funny. It's funny to me that the numbers align because it was Station 18 Marley Park, freaking It's not tattooed on me, but I sure as hell should have it tattooed somewhere. So again, so you started engine house design, right? Um, so you're doing patch or you're designing stuff, and you're like, shit, I'm missing out on a big opportunity. So you get the machine, you start like kind of producing, but you guys are like, you're going like gangbusters right now, because if you go to their website, Engine House Designs, you can find them on Instagram. Where else are you guys at right now?
We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I just started a YouTube channel, so bear with me on that
All right.
venture.
So, I mean,
But
you can pretty much find them on every sort of social media. You can pick like anything you freaking want from this dude, and he prints them up, and they're fucking badass designs. But the craziest thing about it is, so I have in my shopping cart right now, like this, right? I got my Fools logo, got the podcast logo, right? And we were talking like, and he can put that, Cody can put that shit, whatever you guys have, on anything, like on right, like he was just saying, like on a jacket, right sleeve, left sleeve, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, left chest, right, like on the back. Like, is that about right, Cody?
yep, yeah, we can do left chest, right chest, both sleeves, and a full back design. And that's our base price includes the left chest and the right chest. Typically, people just do like a design and name and rank.
Yeah, and I mean, if you check them out too, like the Old South Fools just had a fire conference in Mississippi. They had a bunch of stuff printed by Cody. It's just top notch quality stuff. The best part about it, and that's why I want you guys to look at his store, is like a toy. It's basically Toys R Us for firemen at this point, because you can pick all these designs, and then he'll make them up. And literally, it's funny. We were talking offline. And I'm like, bro, if I screw up on like whatever picture, he's like, yeah, bro, no problem. Like, I'll email you, I'll call you, I'll text you, whatever, and be like, that's not the right format. Send me a different one, or I'll mess with it or whatever. So for the guys out there that are listening, Cody's your man. Like, Engine House Designs, they can make anything for you, even if you're a truck guy like me, right?
We don't
But
discriminate against the truck guys.
exactly. So there you go. He doesn't discriminate. But so what? So we know where you're at right now in your business model. You're a Memphis fireman. You're kicking ass. You got a business on the side. I mean, that's every fireman in the world. We're always doing part-time gigs. Like, I was a garage door guy for years, and I gave it up, just a couple years ago. But I'm still kind of dabbling in that mix. So tell the audience, what's the plan for the future? Like, where do you see you guys going, or what would be your wish, I guess, to kind of expand in the American Fire Service?
One of my dreams is to have a sales team or just have different teams grow this business big enough to where I can hire firemen on their off days and, give them the support that they need, that they don't have to go and do two physically demanding jobs, to make ends meet. And then the other one is our customer stores. So, if your fire department or Fools organization needs a place online where they can order custom apparel or uniforms, we can actually host a page on our website, and we can either make it like a secured page where you have to log in to access it, or we can give you a link that you can share with all your members that they don't need a password, but they need the link. And then all of your items are on there, and it's one place that you can go and order it, and you don't have to do a bulk order. Anybody can go on there and order when they need it, stuff like that. And so my second dream would be for that to take off, and we actually provide uniform solutions to fire departments.
Dude, and that's huge. I was literally at the academy today talking about that, because there was a company that a couple of us were using, and they were really good, and they kind of dropped the ball. And when I say I dropped the ball, it went from a turnaround time to a couple weeks to a couple months, which is, in my opinion, unacceptable when it comes down to least uniforms, because guys like myself at the academy, we destroy uniforms because we're wearing them 5 to 6 days a week, right? We're in the grind. It's not the normal shift work kind of stuff. And they're just getting abused. So the fact that you're entertaining the idea of guys can be like, hey, I work for whatever fire department, let's just say Memphis, right? Because that's where you work. Memphis Fire. I can get whatever the station Maltese is, my name, exactly how it's supposed to be, and then I can order from you, and then within a couple weeks, it ships right to my door, and I don't have to worry about shit. That's freaking huge. We kind of know the future of where you guys are going. What else? Is there anything else you kind of want to leave the audience before we kind of start talking into how you guys run when it comes down to at least your business?
So yeah, so if somebody contacted me either via social media or our contact form on our website, by standard I use the Gildan 64,000 because it's a softer shirt. It's kind of it fits really well. It doesn't shrink. If it does, it's not noticeable. So that's my favorite shirt by default. We use that, but I always ask, is there something that you prefer? And then depending on what they use, I'll look to see if we can get it. I'll price it out that way. But from there, I'm gonna ask for what all options you want on it, and that's again, it's the same as all of our jackets, sweatshirts, everything else. Left and right chest, both sleeves, and the back. And then depending on the options that they select, I will add that to the quote. So part of the estimate is the price of the shirt, and then each of the locations has a price. Again, the left and right chest are all going to be one price. So we kind of like to keep it that way because name and rank doesn't cost hardly anything to add. And then the the back option is its own separate thing. And then you'll also see a print setup fee because it does take some time for us to set things up. So any money or any time that the machines or the heat press or whatever isn't working, then that's money lost. So we kind of recoup that with the setup fee. And then also if there's any artwork that needs to be done or any kind of like design work at all, there'll be an artwork fee. We try to keep it to a minimal. It's like $15 an hour. So depending on how much work you need done to your logo, that's how much the artwork fee will be. But hardly anybody has ever had to have an artwork fee.
Now, if a guy outside of Chat GPT, because right, that's been like the thing lately. If a guy comes up to you and be like, "Hey, Cody, I want," and I'm just making shit up at this point, a spider house number, whatever, 279, and then whatever the animal house. Like if they give you literally that's it, that's all they give you. Is that something you guys can handle, or do they need at least a basic design? And then you kind of tweak it from there. Is that the artwork you're talking about?
Yeah. So we prefer at least a basic design.
Okay.
Well, I'll say we require it now because of how busy we've gotten. It really does take it takes me about 5 to 10 hours to do a design from scratch, and that's 5 to 10 labor hours. So, I might not get that in a day. It might be, 2 or 3 weeks before your design is finished because I have so many other things going on. So, if you already have a base design or like a sketch or, something other than just, "Hey, this is my idea," we can help you out with that. But if we want you to make the design, then that's going to be something that I'm going to probably pass you off to someone else.
Okay. Hey, fair enough. So, with all that said, before we transition into the kind of the tail end of the episode, outside of what you guys are already doing on your website, on your Instagram, all your social medias, is there anything else you kind of want to leave the audience with, my brother?
I kind of already mentioned it. If you're somebody that's self motivated and driven, and you have a lot of passion for the fire service, check out our affiliate program. You can click the link in the navigation bar on our website, Engine House Designs. Also, if you're interested in an online store, check that out. Otherwise, just reach out to us and say, "Hey, the best part of this business is getting to meet new folks that care about the job." That's really why I started way back in the trying to create my own station patch because I was proud of where I worked, and that's our motto, ignite the pride. But that's really our mission too is to get everybody excited and keep that pride because there's a lot of people I think now, especially in places that are busier, where it turns into a job. And while it is a job, it's the best job and it doesn't have to feel like that every day. So
Yeah, I
That's
mean
really
your brother Cody Miller says it like he says it the best. Hey, I get to go to work whatever day it is. Saturday, I get to go to work on Saturday, and not I have to, which 99% of the public, I honestly believe, feels like that. Fuck, I have to go to work. We're like us, guys like us, we get to go to work, which is fucking
right.
amazing. So again, if you guys need anything fire department apparel at all, period, the end, please, Cody, tell them how to reach you, brother.
Man, you can reach out to our social medias. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and now YouTube. All of those are Engine House Designs. You can also reach us on our website, enginehousedesigns.com. You can fill out a contact link there, or you can email me directly at chill@enginehousedesigns.com.
Perfect. And again, like Cody said, we're now an affiliate for Copper State Fireman Podcast. So, and Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, Burn the Ships is your discount code. You get 10% off whatever your purchases is. And more importantly, like Cody says, it helps support us because guess what? We make $0 on this podcast. So, and it costs a lot of money to continuously upload. So any pennies that you can donate, that's a freaking huge plus. And then on top of that, you get literally, I bought one of his t-shirts at a Mississippi Fire Conference, and it is a super comfortable t-shirt, but more importantly, the design is fucking badass. The color's badass. Everything about it is amazing. And again, I'm ordering a jacket from them because it's becoming wintertime and I'm a pussy and I'm in Arizona. I lost all my East Coast thick blood and it's going to be 50 degrees and I'm going to get freezing, right? Where guys like Cody are going to be like in shorts and a t-shirt at 50 degrees. But all right, my brother. Well, listen, thank you for talking about your business. Thank you for talking about American Fire Service. Let's get into some of the questions, right? So we kind of covered the why. So why you become a fireman. Do we miss anything in that, my brother? Is there like, I know you said you got into it later on in life. Is there anything you want to tell the audience that we missed kind of talking about how you became a fireman or why, I should say?
No, I mean, I think that's really it. I think I had a lot of influence growing up because, my grandfather was a police officer. My aunts and uncles were, in the fire service in one way or another. There was a lot of people around me that were in the fire service. So I think it was kind of like it was always a dream and kind of the family business. So
Dude, I love it. So let's get into the meat and potatoes then. So traditions. Traditions are huge in the American Fire Service. Something, especially in my region, we're trying to hold on to and then get back some of the ones that we lost because quote unquote they're considered hazing at times, blah, 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 whatever. So Cody, what is your favorite American Fire Service tradition? But more importantly, why? And it doesn't have to be a Memphis tradition, but what is it? But like I said, the most important reason, why do you love it so much?
you would ask me that question.
I would, of course I would.
I think my favorite, and we don't do it in Memphis, but my favorite American Fire Service tradition is pushing the new apparatus into the station. And I think
Okay.
it's because it seems to be such a strong tradition, and you're really putting your whole pride and everything into your station. It's in some places it's a whole ceremony, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, dude, it is badass. And like you said, it shows pride, not in just into your department, but, um, the apparatus, the American Fire Service, everything else. Like you get all the guys out there. I had a guy, Old Man Copper. He's a retired fireman out of Florida, and it's funny. He used to be a strongman back in the day, and he would take pride in wanting to do it all by himself. Like, hey boys, let me push it first. And he like again, according to him, he did it most of the time, and I believe it because, like I said, he was a freaking hoss back in the day. So, but dude, I love it. I love the fact, and no one has said that yet. Like pushing the wagon or pushing the truck into the bay. That is a huge tradition in the American Fire Service. And again, something else I wish that we never lose. So on to the next, my favorite question, the last question of the day here. So boom, snap your fingers. You change something in the American Fire Service. What would it be? And then why? And again, we were kind of talking off a little bit. So my why would be, we're going to murder out every truck, black on black, right? It's going to be called Not Your Fire Department, and we only run jobs. But again, that's when I win billions at the Powerball and I can hire guys for $1 million a year. So what would be your, snap your fingers, what would you change, implement, whatever it is in the American Fire Service? But more importantly, why? Why would you do it?
Well, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this because I'm
That's
pretty
okay.
good at doing that. But I wish if I could snap my fingers and change anything, it would be that the people up top remember where they came from.
Explain.
And I think there's a lot of people that climb up the ladder fast and they either forget where they came from or, because I'm not naive, I know that things are different up top. And so they kind of just, for their own job security, they go with the flow or they become yes men or whatever, but kind of aligning with my whole character as a person and with my business and keeping that pride in your job and your department. It kind of becomes, you need to be a company man when you get up there and you don't have an identity. You're a part of something bigger. And then you start to expect the people below you to do the same. And I mean, I think the perfect example, and it's something that's going on right now, is the guys that are in Florida right now who just lost their privileges to put patches on their uniforms and decals on their apparatus. I hate that for them because how are you supposed to take pride in your community, take pride in your job when you're not allowed to do stuff like that? And that's a perfect example of someone who climbed the ladder and forgot where they came from, because I'm sure they took pride in where they were, or maybe they didn't, I don't know. But when they were down, boots on the ground. But that's what I would change if I could snap my fingers and change anything.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Cody. It's in, to piggyback what you're saying, like that's what we talk about when I've had a bunch of battalion chiefs. I got an assistant chief that was just a couple episodes ago, and it's funny because we talked, those guys are, I always say it all the time, firemen's fire chiefs. There's a difference between being a chief officer, and when I say fire chief, I don't mean the fire chief, I mean just a chief officer. Between being a fireman's chief and then just a fire chief is a different fucking story, because you have to remember where you came from. I've had talks with upper chiefs where they're like, hey, Steve, I did what you did. And biting my lip, right? Going, no, motherfucker, you have not. Because yes, you did 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but bro, it's different now. And they don't understand because they're so disconnected, because as soon as, for some reason, not all of them, unfortunately most of them, once those bugles get crossed, they lose that perspective. And again, I don't know, I'm not a battalion chief, I'm a captain, right? So my bugles are still straight, thank fucking God. But with that said, if I ever decide to promote, I tell myself all the time, don't fucking forget where you came from, because it's for the guys. And when we say that, it's like, there's so many things. You said it the best. Station pride, and we've talked about that in the area I'm in right now. Like, it is changing something as simple as your helmet, or allowing the guys to get a shield to show their station number. That might seem small and minute to a division chief or an assistant chief, or maybe even the fire chief of whatever department it is. But what they forget is it means a lot to us, the guys on the ground, because I came from a system where, like, there's departments around us. You open the door and boom, there's that station patch. Let's just say station 18, bam, right? That's pride. When you have pride in your station and the guys have pride, guess what? They're fucking great firemen, but they're really good employees too. So I think the chief officers as a whole across the American Fire Service have forgotten that. And that's I don't want to say that's a generational thing, that's a society thing right now. And it takes guys like us and myself, and this is why I have a platform like this, because I'm trying to change that. Just because you become a chief, even if you become an administrative chief, don't forget that that's important to the guys in the field, because we could get shit pay, shit apparatus, run our balls off, but you allow us to have station patches and tattoo our trucks. I guarantee you we're probably going to be happy. I mean, I mean, like, what do you feel about that, Cody, right?
Yeah, let me wear shorts again. You know?
Dude, exactly, right? I mean, it's the small things, a job shirt, shorts, a station patch on a uniform or on a truck mean a lot to the guys in the field that are getting their dicks kicked in every fucking day on the job and getting motherfucked by the public, left and right, whatever. But it's okay because that house, whatever, the animal house, the fucking big house, whatever it is, job town, whatever you want to,
Yeah.
it means a lot. And right. And then when we get back to the station, we're good because we have that. And guys, again, the upper administration forget that sometimes, and
Yeah.
it takes a couple guys telling us, telling them, and maybe it sinks in. Hopefully it does sink in. But dude, I love that answer. No one's said that yet. So dude, freaking great answer. I absolutely love that. That pride and tradition thing means a lot. And I mean, that goes back to the tradition side too, because again, you can kick us in the balls for 24 hours a day and we'll be coming out with a smile if we have the good dudes, and we have that station pride and we love where we work. It doesn't matter the call volume anymore. It doesn't matter the amount of fires or lack of fires, depending on where you're at. If you have that, it makes the job really good.
Yeah.
And
I think, because I mean, the reason I feel so strong about it is I've experienced it, firsthand with the people in the community. I work in Orange Mound, which is I think it's the first full black community in the United States, where they actually built, neighborhoods specifically. Now, like, I'm wearing it now. It says,
there you go. Yep.
it says Orange
16?
Mound on it. Yep. Engine 16, Orange Mound. And on the back, it says Orange Mound Fire Department. And, I have a hat that it looks more uniform. It's blue. It's navy with white writing, and it says Fire Department of Orange Mound. And we're not supposed to wear it, but I did one day. And, amongst the many runs that we made, I got a handful of compliments from people in the community, like, where can I get a hat? I love your hat. And that's what means so much to me, is that these people, they don't care if you're in a button up shirt or whatever. They just want to know that you're there to help and that you care about them. And there's no better way to show that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that guys forget is, like, we are part of their community, no matter what.
Right.
When we transfer stations, guess what? We have to get indoctrinated with the brand new community, and that's a different look everywhere we go. But like you were saying, once the public realizes, hey man, I'm here for you, which is the truth, and that's how I feel, and I know that's how you feel too. Like, we are here for that, for the public, 100%. And I tell guys, like, I am our department, which I hate. One of the things I hate the most about our department, I call us the roving fire department. So there's more guys that rove than have core homes. I don't understand why. I still don't understand. The system I came from was not like that. And I was too young to pay attention to why it wasn't like that. And I wish I did. But with that said, when the community realizes, like, hey, they'll say shit like that. That's my fire department. So the area that I used to live in, where my ex-wife is, they did a great job, because I would hear all the time, no one would ever say the name of the department. They would say, that's my fire department. And guess what?
Right.
Those motherfuckers got anything they wanted to, because the public fucking loved them, because they were part of the community. And like you're just saying, exactly what you just said, with your hoodie on right now, they see that and they're like, hey, that's one of the boys. And that's a public guy saying, like, hey, right, hey, he's part of the neighborhood. He's part of the hood. He's part, he's for us. And that means a lot. But people forget that in society right now, forgets that. It means a lot to us. And we don't talk about that. I don't even think we've talked about that on the show. We don't talk about that enough, on how important it is for us as firemen to be part of the community, and more importantly, show them. And the best way to show them is what you guys are doing with swag, because they see it. They see the hat, they see the back of the shirt, right? It doesn't say whatever city, it says their neighborhood. Could you imagine how psyched those guys would get if that was allowed across the nation? They'd be like, yeah, they would be kicking guys out from other stations right down the street, be like, no, send 16. That's my guys, right?
Right.
I don't want whoever the next new company is. That's actually a cool thing, in my opinion, again, you know?
Yeah.
All right, Cody. Well, listen, we've been yapping for a while, right? So without taking up too much time, is there anything else you kind of want to leave the listeners with before we sign off, my brother?
No, man, I think we covered it all. I just want to thank you personally for having me on and, being a big supporter of my business and allowing me this opportunity.
Dude, absolutely. And like I said, it is all about all the guys I've had on this show that have a company. It's just because they're good fucking dudes, but more importantly, they're firemen trying to make things better for us. And like I said, and Cody's a prime example. He's doing swag and apparel for either on the job or off the job, which is a big deal. And talking to a couple of your brothers in Memphis also, and I agree with this. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion. I don't give a fuck. But it is who we are. When we're firemen, the boys, and I say the boys, that doesn't mean a gender thing. The boys is what it's all about. It is all about the fucking job, and it is part of us. So the guys that we exclude are they're like, hey man, I'm here for the schedule. I'm here for the benefits. I'm here for blah, 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 whatever. Right? The guys, the boys, like I like to say, we're fucking firemen because we're meant to do this job, even if we came into it later on in life. But it's one of those things. And no other way to show it is like this shit right here. Fools, right? Swag on you, swag on your head. Same fucking deal. It is a big fucking deal. So dude, thank you for taking time out of your evening and talking to us. And again, check them out. Engine House Designs, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever else I forgot, right? And please, if you can, we'll put the link in the bio on the bottom for his Instagram and his website. But Burn the Ships will be a discount code. You get 10% off, and then it helps the podcast out. So we appreciate that also. Cody, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you so much. We'll see you guys in another 2 weeks. Take it easy. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in another 2 weeks. Remember to like, share, review if you can. Helps drive traffic to our podcast. Remember, let's leave our ego out of the fire service. It's amazing what we can accomplish when no one's looking for credit. Much love. Let's stop beating our own and become better firemen. Catch you next time.